Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elizabeth and I'm a kindergarten teacher from California. I am so glad that you're here, and if you're not already part of the family, consider hitting that subscribe button to get notifications for when I upload new content. So this last week, we started staff orientation for the upcoming school year, and I always feel like I learned so much in those types of settings. This week we talked about a very important topic, and that was classroom/behavior management. My administrator had some really good tips, and today I want to share with you my top 10 tips for a classroom behavior management plan. Some of these pertain to the beginning of the school year. They're kind of beginning of the school year specific. So these are really important things that you can start doing in your classroom today. I also want to invite you to comment down below with any tips or strategies that you have for classroom management. Okay, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so tip one is pretty straightforward, and that is to not make any rules that you are not willing to be consistent on and follow up on. Doing this will help your students feel this sense of fairness and will give them a sense of security. So those first few days of school are really important. You want to show the kids that you care about them, but coming in with a game plan and setting those expectations is going to help set the tone for the entire school year. So while you're trying to establish your standard of behavior, don't forget to smile and have fun. Sometimes it's not what you teach, but how you teach it that's important. I'm right in the middle of a book called The Epic Classroom, and it's basically a book about how to create a narrative for your lessons. It's actually really interesting. I'll link it down below if you're interested. So one of my favorite lessons in kindergarten is the Very Hungry Caterpillar unit that we do. So what I do is I do like this classroom transformation. I wrote a blog post about it, so I'll link that down below if you haven't heard of what a classroom transformation is. So basically in the lesson, I create a narrative for the students, and I start the morning off by reading a letter from the Very Hungry Caterpillar. The caterpillar has lost all of his food, is what I say, and I say we have to go on a scavenger hunt and find all of his food. So basically we start the day off with a problem that the students have to figure out the solution for. And this is such a wonderful way to set that stage for engagement. So I just want to encourage you that it's not necessarily what you teach, it's how you teach it. Put the most chatty or the students who are the most challenging kind of towards the back of the classroom. You don't want them in the front and center. Sometimes that's what kids are they're trying to get attention. And so removing that audience from them sometimes is the best thing. So placing them in a very strategic spot that they still have the support that they need sometimes just really helps minimize their ability to disrupt the classroom. Another tip that I love to use in class is to use a whisper voice. Sometimes when my students get really loud or I notice that they are kind of losing it, I sometimes will say, if you can hear my voice, touch your nose. And I'll whisper that. And then there's a couple students who will do that. And then I'll look at them and give them an incentive or a little prize for that. And then I'll say it again, if you can hear my voice, pat your head. And sometimes just using that quiet voice just kind of brings them in a gentle way. As I'm standing in class, or if you were observing the class, you would basically hear the level, the volume, just kind of come down and resolve within just a matter of seconds. So that's another strategy that I love to use for classroom management. And I just want to encourage you to give your students every opportunity to start the year off successful. Don't hold a grudge, give them the benefit of the doubt, and I really feel like that helps them to know that they are loved and they're accepted, and just really helps set them up for success for the rest of the school year. So this year I have adopted a positive reinforcement behavior system. So we're using like a token economy. The system is basically one that helps me be deliberate about pointing out positive behaviors in my students. So I'll give you a for example. Maybe we're at carpet time and I see a couple of students misbehaving or doing the thing that they're not supposed to be doing, and then I look over here and I see a couple of students who are showing the behavior that I am expecting from all of my students. I might say something to the students who are doing the right thing, like, man, I love how you're sitting so respectfully right now. you can go ahead and put a token on your token board. And so what that does is it basically cues the students who are misbehaving that the only behavior that is rewarded in class is the positive behavior. And so a lot of times what happens is the students who are misbehaving, they hear that and then they stop and resolve, and then it basically redirects their behavior. Another strategy that I really like to use is called the 1x10, and I found this strategy in the book Fully Charged by Julie Adams. I'll link that down below if you're interested. So this strategy basically states that you be really deliberate about spending 1 minute a day for 10 days in a row with your students. You can pick 2 or 3 students to focus on during those 10 days, but I like to do this at recess. I'll typically call a student over, have a little chit chat with them about something that they're interested in, thank them for the conversation, and then send them off. This strategy just helps build a relationship, helps me check in with them to see how they're doing, and I love using this strategy in my own classroom. So my last tip for today is all about combining structure and free choice. I like to have a very regimented schedule in the classroom. It's very predictable. The students know exactly what's coming up next. However, I have times in the day that are specifically scheduled in for free choice. The students get to have free choice about what they play with, where they sit. You've probably heard of flexible seating, so there's lots of that going on. And then I have times in the day that are just scheduled for free choice. So center time or station time, where they go to a station and they can choose between 20 different activities, what they want to do. We do a lot of right the room activities where they're up and kind of moving around. So I feel like that combination of structure and free choice is important in developing this sense of ownership in the child, but also giving them this sense of security, knowing what is coming up next. So those are my top 10 tips for classroom management or behavior management in the classroom. I would love to hear your tips and strategies, so please feel free to comment down below. As always, if you're not a subscriber, consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.